My name is Angela.
My name is Nicole.
And welcome to the Ominous Stitch podcast. Hello, Stitchers.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Ominous Stitch podcast.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. We're back.
We're back.
It's been a while.
It doesn't seem like a while for you guys. But
Yeah. You guys just heard us last week.
Yeah.
But, spoiler here, we record a few episodes at a time because we know we're going to have some busy days. And so it's been about 3 weeks for us.
Holy cow.
And what a crazy 3 weeks these have been.
What a roller coaster, just to say the least.
First of all, the most important thing I want to say is I love you so much, Nicole.
I love you.
You are an amazing person.
You're too sweet.
And you are my very bestest
You're
friend.
my very bestest
And I have
friend.
missed you so much, and so much has happened.
As Angela says, kumbaya.
Kumbaya. It's so good to be back in action and
Yes.
be back with each
We're
other.
happy to do this.
Oh my gosh, you guys, you have no idea.
This brings us so much joy.
It does. Speaking of joy, should we get into our stitches?
I guess.
Okay, so we can kind of ping pong back and forth.
You go
because
first.
I'll
She's
start.
got a
I'll
few.
do one,
Okay.
and then we'll dive into your stitch,
Okay.
and then we'll bring it back to me so we can
Yay.
end on a happy
Okay.
thing.
I like
yes.
it. Yes,
Okay.
I love it.
So the first thing that I want to say is it's the holiday season.
It's
the
the
holiday
holiday
season. Yeah, so we know that. And we just went through November. November is a big month for me.
For you, it's
yes,
huge.
it's my husband's birthday.
Right?
It was a big birthday for him. I won't give numbers, but it's a big birthday. And Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
And then we also decided to do a Friendsgiving this year as well.
So it's a lot.
And then it's also our anniversary. We just celebrated 14 years of marriage.
Congrats.
Yay.
Yay.
So it's a big month.
Yes.
And there was a lot going on. And my poor little brain cannot process everything and all the details that I need to do. I'm not a very detail-oriented person.
You're not like me where you keep lists.
No,
For
and I
lists and
really need to keep lists. I think I need to break down and start using a planner.
Okay.
And
Did you
as
know?
much as that makes me sad,
Well,
I really need to do it.
I found there's a planner for people just like you, apparently.
Is there?
Yeah, well, you fill things in where it's
Ooh.
like you do what you need to. Like it's,
Uh-huh.
I think it's for your brain. Maybe I'll find it for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is why I need a planner, because a lot of little details that I was trying to remember definitely didn't happen.
No.
And so I had multiple brain farts, and I'm just going to list some of them. And this is why I need a planner. I was going through them
I
with
was
Nicole.
Angela's planner at one point.
I know.
think.
I was going through these with Nicole, and I was like, Nicole, what the heck? Why can't I remember anything? And I was making myself so mad that I kept screwing up all these tiny little things. So the first thing is for our Friendsgiving, we decided to, now this is like a cool idea. My husband is very smart, very detail oriented. He comes up with great ideas, and then he'll, give me tasks to carry them out. And one of the tasks so what he wanted to do, he wanted to make ornaments. And so
That's right.
we saved our Christmas tree from last year because we buy live trees, and we dried it out on our wood pile. And it's going to be our Yule log. So we're going to burn it the following Christmas. So that's going to be our tradition.
love
Isn't that
that.
great? And what we decided to do also is to take a section of it and cut it into rounds to make ornaments.
Pretty.
So we have all these beautiful little rounds.
Mhm.
And we decided, what would be really cool is if we take what we call our farm, we call it AS Homestead, because those are our initials, Angela, Sam, Homestead, right? Angela and Sam Homestead. So we were going to take our initials and buy a brand, and you can do this on Amazon. You can customize your brand, right? And then burn them on one side, and on the other side, we're going to let the kids use markers and color and decorate. And we had like Christmas stamps and stuff.
Like a family project.
Yes, I'll show you them. We still have a bunch, and
good.
I'll show you them. And
Okay.
if you want to take some for the
Yes.
boys and they can decorate, they
would
can.
love it. Yeah.
Here's the problem, though.
Oh no.
I got the name of our homestead wrong.
The basics.
The brand is wrong. I chose to use my initials instead of A.S. Homestead. It's A.H. Homestead.
It's your own home.
And I was like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Because I was trying to do it fast. So it's like A.H. Homestead. And it makes me mad because I'm like, I did it wrong.
No,
It's not the right name.
That's okay.
My husband, I love him. God bless him. He thinks it's hilarious. I'm like,
it is hilarious.
I'm mad at myself for doing that.
Yeah.
I'm so mad at myself
Don't
for doing
you beat
that.
yourself up too much.
You listeners got one of my brain farts. I fixed it though. But if you were one of the lucky 50 people that listened to the episode before I fixed it, I totally left a section in
Oh, that's right.
the episode that we released before Thanksgiving. I left a little section in there that I meant to delete. So that was a little blurb
about fire.
Yeah, there was a fire and Matt was hiking around where the fire was. And
That's
so I'm
right.
like, by the way, there's fire.
There's fire.
Yeah. So you guys got a little treat of something that I meant to cut. So that was another little brain fart.
That's
and I was trying to do it fast.
And you did it. You got it out.
Another one that I did is I shipped my Christmas cards to my old address instead of my current address. So that was kind of fun. I got to meet the people that moved into my old house.
Bought it. That's cool.
I was like, how do you like the house?
Were
It's
they
great.
nice?
Yeah, very nice.
Okay.
I met their dog.
Fun.
Their dog's name is Theo. He's very nice.
What kind of doggy?
Like a golden.
Oh,
I think it might have been a doodle or something.
Love
but yeah,
it.
very,
Okay.
very sweet, very cute.
very nice.
Very nice people. They're from Seattle. So
Hey!
yay, shout out to them. Like I wanted to be
What's
like,
up?
my sister lives there, and I wanted to tell them all kinds of stuff, but I'm like, that's way too weird. And I
Divulge your
I
whole
don't
life
need
to
to
them.
like yeah, I'm like, just because they live in my old house, I don't need to tell them
They're not
everything
your
that I know
besties
about
right now.
them, right?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
that's funny though.
But yeah, so that. And then probably one of the biggest brain farts that I had, I'm sure there's more that I'm not remembering right now because I can't remember things. But one of the biggest brain farts that I had is I forgot to put sugar in my pumpkin pie.
Wah, wah, wah. It's a healthy pumpkin pie.
It's like I make pumpkin pies every year. That's like one thing that I am known for on Thanksgiving and Christmas is I make the pumpkin pies. I did make the crust. I made a graham cracker crust. So
Yum.
there was lots of sugar in that.
Okay, bounce it out.
And then I also make a pecan kind of praline thing that goes on the bottom underneath the pumpkin.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's really
yum.
good. So I do that instead of making a pecan pie. I make
got a
like
good
a
crunch
pecan
to it. I
yeah.
like that.
So that had a lot of sugar in it. So I
Okay.
mean there was sugar present, just not in
Just
the
not in
pumpkin
main
part. And I was eating it and I was like, there's something wrong. What's wrong? And then the next morning I woke up, I was like, I didn't put sugar in the pumpkin pie. Oh man.
It's okay. It's a little healthier that way then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys, does anybody else do this during the holiday? There's like tiny little details that drive you nuts
No.
and everyone else thinks it's hilarious. But I'm like, no, I should have like done better at
Yeah.
that. And I should have remembered that.
No, I think my mother-in-law can contest right now. I'll talk more about that. I'm like, hey, don't let me forget. And I'd like
Yeah.
say it out loud. I'm like, Siri.
Yeah.
And that helps me remember it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why didn't I write it down? But no, I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're too busy.
Yeah.
You don't have time to
You're
write
just, like,
things
running
down. Yeah, I'm
around,
just going.
chicken with
Just
his head cut off. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I feel you.
So I made it through November and now we're in December, and that is where I will switch over to you because my next thing I want to talk about has to do with holiday
Holidays.
parties. Yeah.
Holiday season.
It's the holiday season. So Nicole.
Oh my gosh.
You are the strongest, most amazing person I know.
You're so
I'm
sweet.
going to start with that.
You're so sweet.
Yeah.
I won't give everything away, but we had another family scare. My husband, if you've heard us talk about it before, he had some seizures back in April, and everything was fine now. He was on meds. You know, things got better. No more seizures. Got better. But recently he suffered another one in the middle of the night that we found out maybe that was triggered by a migraine and a med switch.
Yes.
But we don't know for sure. We're still kind of in the dark. We need to still meet with his new neurologist. But it was freaking scary, everybody, because I had to call an ambulance. That was fun. What's the funniest part, I think, to me is that once they got in, I was like, oh my God, my house is so dirty.
I know. She's so funny.
I'm like, my husband's in trouble. Yes, go help him. But like, everything around me was like, oh my God, it's so messy in here.
Yeah, I know. She was in a panic. I was talking to her because she called me after they took her husband, and she's like cleaning her house, and she's
I'm
like, my
cleaning
house
my
is such a
house.
mess. I'm like, nobody cares, Nicole. Just like,
But I think that's my way of coping too.
yeah,
Like,
you
I
got to be
cannot-
busy. You got to do something, and you got to find order, and you can find
Yes.
order in a clean house.
I can control it. That
Yeah.
was my controlling situation. So yeah, it was tough. We came back. Angela was awesome. She came and helped because it was the middle of the night. My kids were sleeping. She came and helped me out. They released him and thinking he was good. And then we got home and he suffered 2 more.
Yeah.
It was the scariest thing. My other good friend, that is my youngest's best friend's mom, came over to help. And we had to call another ambulance. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
The same crew.
2 ambulance rides.
2
They're
ambulance
like, hey,
rides.
I know you.
We all knew each other.
Were they like, hey, your house is much cleaner?
I should have asked, like, do you notice anything different? No, it was very stressful, though. He was in the hospital for a few more days because of post-seizures and good times. But he's home, thankfully. We've got
like
family
complete
and
180.
180.
Yeah.
It's the same as his last time. It's just he's got a lot of pain from,
From seizing, yes.
aftermath of
Yeah.
things. So send him good vibes, everybody. He was the sweetest because once he got back, I don't know if you noticed, Angela, he wrote a bunch of posts. So he's a huge Funko person, right? So
Yeah.
he's got a big community with Funko Pops. I don't know if you guys know those, but it's really cute. These little doll things. Okay. So he made a big post about it and he shouted us out, and then we got a bunch of followers. So
Yeah.
I was like,
that
you
was
guys,
sweet.
that was the sweetest thing in the world. But thank you, everybody, for well wishes. He's doing a lot better. We still need to see a neurologist. We've got, like I said, family coming in and out because all of our family's in Washington State.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody here except Angela and a couple people. So thank you for everybody for helping us out, and well wishes. So
Yeah.
of course, it's during the holiday season.
It's the holiday season.
Great timing,
Oh,
but
man.
but he's doing a lot better, thankfully.
Yeah.
I have PTSD. I can't sleep
Yeah.
because
Because
everything
it happened in the middle of the night.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
night. So, and I made sure he didn't fall, but like after that, I was like freaking out. I'm like, what do I freaking do? You know?
Yeah.
So
Because there's really nothing you can do.
no, I
you
can't do
know.
anything at that point
Yeah.
except call an ambulance, which
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So.
Whew.
So my
breaths.
life has been crazy, but
Yeah.
you know, we roll with the punches, so things are, you know, better. I'm just happy he's home.
Yeah. I'm happy he's home.
Yeah.
I'm happy that everything is, progressing in a positive way.
Yes.
And we're moving forward. And
Right.
I'm happy to have you in my life.
Thank
and
you.
I'm happy to
I'm
have,
happy to have
him in
you.
my life.
You know what's amazing though? Just a quick side note. So I don't know if you've ever watched the Haunting in Venice movie I keep talking to you about
Yes.
with Perot.
Yes.
Perot.
Yes.
You
Yes.
did
I
you watch
did.
it?
I watched it. Yes.
So there's a section at the beginning where they're at the house. I don't know if you guys seen it. Go watch it if you want to. It's pretty fun. But there's a section at the beginning where the kids are watching how this house is haunted,
yes.
right? And I think it's Tina Fey's character or the mom where she says something like, scary stories make real life less scary.
Yes.
And that's why I
very
love this
true.
podcast too. It's like, I love researching scary things because real life like that was the scariest thing ever, right?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So researching other stories and creepy things, like I think that's also why I love that, because
it's a good therapy.
yes, yeah. So we're bringing you guys therapy.
Yes.
I'm making hand gestures and being silly. So anyway,
You're too cute.
yeah. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be podcasting because that
Yes.
really takes my mind off things, and I'm happy.
Yeah,
to-
that was a big concern of hers because we missed a day of podcasting, and she's like, I'm not going to be able to come. I'm like, no, your husband's in the hospital. You can't come. It's okay. We have some saved. We're good. It's okay. But I think you needed this because this is
Yes.
therapy.
It's my therapy.
Yeah.
And it's my release.
Yeah.
So
So
I love you guys.
Yeah, we love our Stitchers.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got one more fun story real quick.
I do. I
Okay.
have one more fun story.
And then we'll go to story time. Oh, and stitches.
And
but-
Stitches, yes, yeah. Oh, I have the coolest thing to show
Yes,
you
you
guys.
do.
I'm so excited. I started working on it the night that I came and spent at your house.
She brought all her crochet stuff.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the holiday season again. Here's the theme, right? And so now that we're in December and we're out of November, we're doing holiday parties. And my husband's so sweet. We have holiday parties all this week right now. And so we went to one last night. And it was really fun. He's like, go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. So you have like sparkly nails
they're
now.
Beautiful.
And so anyway, so I got to get all dolled up and ready, and we're at this party, and we're hanging out with people that I haven't seen in forever. So it was really, really fun to just like see these people and hang out and get to know them. And they're like, so what have you been up to? Like, I haven't seen you in years. Like, what's going on? And so I'm just like, at first my brain is like, oh, nothing. I don't know. I'm like, oh, we moved to a farm. I have alpacas.
And they didn't know that.
No, because I haven't seen, well, I mean, they've talked to Sam. They see Sam, but they haven't seen me. And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I have alpacas. And they're like, oh, cool. Tell us about the alpacas. And I tell them about the alpacas. And then Sam's like, she has a podcast too. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have a podcast. Because,
That's
like,
fun.
don't think about it.
You know what? Real quick.
Yeah.
My husband brought that up in the hospital too.
Did he?
He's like, to the neurologist, she's watching me crochet. And she's like, oh my gosh, you crochet. I'm like, yeah. And my husband's like, hey, tell her about your podcast.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? I'm so bad at self-promotion.
I'm terrible at it.
I do this for us and for our community, and I never promote it. And that's so
we're bad at
bad.
It. Isn't that funny? Sorry, everybody. If you could promote us, that'd be awesome. But we're terrible at it, apparently.
Yeah, no, I'm like so not good. I'm like, yeah, I have a podcast.
Yay.
So I was talking to this one woman, and she's a lawyer, and again, I haven't seen her in years. She's like, really? What do you guys talk about? Because she and another friend of hers are thinking about doing a podcast.
Oh, fun.
Where her friend will talk about, so she's a family law, so divorce lawyer.
Oh, okay.
So she's got all kinds of crazy, juicy stories.
Yes.
And so her friend wants to talk about how women will change their fashions after a divorce.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, yes, because that happens.
That does.
Like, women completely change everything.
Everything.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, that would be a fascinating
I would
podcast.
listen to it.
So I'm putting it out there. That this podcast is going to be coming into existence. So when it happens,
fun.
I'll let everyone know about it.
I want to listen.
Because it will be hilarious because she is so funny.
Yes.
And then she's like, well, what do you talk about on your podcast? I was like, well, we decided to do this during the pandemic because we would get together and crochet. And they were like, well, what do you listen to when you crochet? And I'm like, I like to listen to paranormal things. And Nicole's like, me too. And then that's how this brainchild came out.
That's funny how you put that.
Yeah. and then she's like, really? What kind of paranormal things do you talk about? So she's like getting excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, everything. We talk about hauntings. We talk about cryptids. She's like, UFOs. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. We talk about aliens and UFOs. She's like, I saw a UFO. I've seen it twice. And I was like, no way. Tell me all about it. And she's like, okay. And she was so excited. And we talked about her UFO sightings.
Wow.
And we talked. And now I think she's going to listen. So, hey,
good.
Denise.
Hey.
I hope you're listening.
Tell it. Is it like a long one? We could share
No,
it.
it's very short. So we're going to share it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I would love if Denise wants to come talk about it. But so she saw it one night. I forget where she was living, but it wasn't here where we live, but it was in Southern California.
Okay.
And she was in her bedroom, and she had this like big window that she was looking out, and then she saw this flat disc shape come towards her window, and it kind of hovered and kind of spun around a little bit there and then just zoomed off really, really fast.
Wow.
And she said that you could kind of see a chemtrail, but like you had to be looking for it to see that kind of a trail. And it didn't move like any other aircraft that you would think, because it just kind of came in and shimmied around a little bit and then just zoomed off. And she's like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
That was a UFO. I saw a UFO.
It wasn't like tiny, right? It wasn't like a drone, right?
No, she says it was the size of like maybe an Escalade, like a big car.
Wow.
And it just like came to her window and just kind of looked around a little bit and then zoomed off.
Spooky.
And then she said she saw it again. She was in Lake Arrowhead with her family.
Ooh.
And everybody had gone inside, and she was just looking up in the sky, and she saw it zooming around again.
And
I was just like, oh my gosh.
It's following
she
her.
saw it twice. Yeah.
Maybe there's a connection.
And it was way different timing, different area.
That's crazy.
But yeah, and so we got to talk about UFOs and stuff.
Yay.
That was like, that's so cool. I'm
And you're
talking
like,
about
this
UFOs.
is the best party ever because I
Exactly.
get stories from people. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yay, holiday parties.
I need more holiday parties in my life.
Oh, it was fun.
That's really cool.
Yay.
Well, we got some stuff to talk about, yeah?
We do. I'm so excited about the stitch.
Yes.
Once again, I have no idea what our story time is. Secret time. I know.
But,
I love it.
And the movie I chose it's not a normal, typical horror movie that I usually choose, but
It was beautiful.
It's a mystery thriller.
Yeah, and I've never read the book.
I haven't either.
But the
we'll talk
movie
about it
was
more.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lovely Bones. You guys know. You've read the
seen
title of the episode.
podcast episode. We'll dive in soon, though.
Yeah. But before we do all of that, let's get stitching. Okay, Stitchers. So for today, I got super inspired because, again, it's the holiday season. Take a stitch every single time we sing that song because it's been like 8 times so far this episode. But I got very inspired to make another holiday blanket.
Yay!
I made one last year. So I'm like, I'm going to make one this year. And I'm like, what do I want to do? And then I came across, so we love these, you guys see these like rustic red trucks everywhere,
it's like
right?
the new thing for holiday season.
Yeah, these red trucks. I mean, they've been around for a while, but I bought one years ago. I was at Hobby Lobby and I saw this red truck and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I bought it years ago and I had it on my piano at my old house. But now we live on a farm and it makes more sense for it to be here. So
True.
I collect these like old little vintage trucks. So I have the red one. I have a white one that my alpaca that Nicole made me lives in. And so I decided, you know what? I came across a blanket that has that truck pattern on it. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So it's a Christmas truck.
Ooh.
And I got this off of a website called Left in Knots.
Are they left-handed?
Isn't that cute? They do have left-handed videos.
Hey!
They do. So that's what's really great about it is they do a right-handed video and they do a left-handed video on how to do this technique. And this is a technique that I've never done before. This is a graphigan, but we're doing a C2C or corner to corner graphigan. And I've never done this technique. And so I was like, ooh, I want to learn how to do this technique too.
Okay.
And so that's the blanket. Isn't that cute?
Oh my gosh. She's showing me her like current in progress.
Yeah.
And now I see the website. It's so cool.
Isn't it cool?
Yes,
It's so
I love
pretty. So, of course, I went out and shout out to Janet and Mike for sponsoring this blanket because they bought me the yarn for this.
Yay! Thanks, Janet and Mike.
So we went out and went to Joann's and I bought all the yarn for it. So I'm like so excited. So corner to corner is basically you start in one corner and starts with what they call a pixel. So it's one little block. And one pixel is a chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So that's a block.
3 double crochets.
Yeah, chain 2, 3 double crochets.
Got it.
And so it starts off with a chain 5.
Okay.
And then in the third chain from the hook, you do a double crochet and then you double crochet in the last 2, right? So then you're left with a chain 2 and 3 double crochets.
Right.
Then you chain 5 and then in the same thing in the third chain from the hook, you do a double crochet and then you do 2 more double crochets in the next 2 chains. And then you flip the first pixel that you made and you slip stitch it to that chain 2.
Nice.
And then in that chain 2 from that first pixel, you're going to chain 2 and then do 3 double crochets into that chain 2 space.
Okay.
And then you have 3 pixels because you have that initial one and then you have 2 more that are building on the side and you're doing a diagonal, right? And then you do the same thing. So as long as you're building, as you're building, you're always going to start with a chain 5, double crochet in the third chain from the hook, and then in 2 more, flip it, slip stitch it into the chain 2 space. Yes, you have to flip it. So you're constantly working front and back, but you're also working on the diagonal, right?
That's crazy.
And then when you're
changing colors too.
Yeah, when you change colors, you change colors like you normally would change colors. And it does get kind of messy because you do have a lot of like.
I was gonna say you've got so many yarn going.
Yeah,
through
you
it.
have a lot of yarn that's going through.
Yeah.
And you can carry your color through, but a lot of times you'll see the threads.
Sure.
So I started carrying the yarn through, and I was like, I don't like seeing all the thread because it's not as easy to bury the thread. Because when you're flipping it, you can see it.
You can see it, yeah.
And so I've started not doing that.
Oh.
And so I have a lot of yarn balls that are happening at the same time, and it can get really, really messy. But I think it makes the whole thing look neater, and you just, you have to deal with the mess while you're working on it, but it's fine.
So the back you can see everything, but the front you don't? Or
no, it's double-sided.
Okay.
It's double-sided. You can see everything all the way through.
Cool.
So I'm going to have a ton of ends to sew in, but it's okay. I don't mind.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't mind. I don't mind. It's going to be a beautiful blanket.
Of course. It's so cool looking.
And we will post it. So it's a really simple technique. And then obviously you're going to wind up with a square, but this is a rectangle. So when you have what they call maintaining rows, then on certain rows you do the chain 5, and then so you're adding a square, and then on other rows you don't, and that's what maintains the square.
Go farther,
So that's what maintains the stitch count as you're going along. So some rows are going to start with the chain 5, which is adding the block, and some rows are going to start with what they call the decrease, where you don't add a block, you just slip stitch, and then you go on to the next one.
Cool.
So it's really cool. And then when you decrease, obviously you're just slip stitching and then going until you get to that last little block and you make that little corner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's really.
I'm so proud of you for finding it.
Me too. I can't wait till this blanket. I'm like, this blanket is special because it is the truck that we have everywhere in my house. And like
so
my
cute.
tablecloth has it right now. My Christmas tablecloth has it. And so, I'm
How long do you think it's going to take you? I know it's so hard to find time to crochet. That's our lives. But how long do you think it's going to take?
It's actually going pretty fast.
Okay, good.
So I definitely should finish it. Hopefully before Christmas.
That would be nice.
That's my goal, is to finish it before Christmas, because I have, I would love to have it out on display before the Christmas season is over. So hopefully I'll get that done. But I did a whole lot when I was at your house.
Good. You had all that time.
And I pull it out as often as I can, because it is just, it's a simple stitch to do when you're going in it. You just have to pay attention to when it's time to change colors.
Right.
There is a free pattern on Left in Knots. She does do demonstrations either right-handed or left-handed.
Oh, that's so nice.
On how to increase, how to decrease, and how to maintain. And it's very detailed. And then she gives you all the information you can. And she does have other trucks for other seasons.
Look at that. She's got
Isn't
like a
that
spring
cute?
one. Yeah.
There's spring, summer, fall, harvest.
Fun.
She has a ton of them. And it's so fun. So I encourage you to go to Left in Knots. You can also find these patterns for purchase on Ravelry.
Nice.
And I think Pinterest as well.
Without ads.
Yes, without ads.
Yeah.
Or you can, do the free one that's on her website.
I noticed she uses loops and threads yarn. I feel like that's most popular. I'm seeing that everywhere now.
Loops and threads. Yeah. I was at Joann's. I'm using the Big Twist.
Oh, value.
Yeah. Big Twist value. Yes, because it was on sale. And I love something on sale.
Amazing.
Yes, I love something on sale. But I am using the Red Heart Aran Fleck, because I think that's a beautiful.
That's a pretty one.
Yeah. So I'm using that one for the main color, but everything else is this value Fleck.
Nice.
Or value
Big twist.
Big Twist. Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's nice. It's a fun blanket to do.
I'm excited to see.
I'm excited to see the end of it too. I can't wait till I can untie all the knots that I have going on and get it going. Yeah.
Good job.
But yeah, so that's my stitch.
Very cool.
Yay.
Well, you ready for this?
I am so ready. I don't know what we're talking about. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
You're going to see in the podcast episode soon, guys. Well, you guys all see it, but she doesn't know. So let's get to story time.
It's story time.
This episode topic, I think a year or two ago, when I like to, do some, not even for the podcast, just looking up creepy, spooky stories, right?
Uh-huh.
But this week, I'm coming to you with one of California's most baffling missing cases.
Ooh.
And it's called the Yuba County Five.
The Yuba County Five.
Ever heard of it?
No.
Cool. Now,
Okay.
this case is over 45 years old and still considered unsolved.
I'm older than the case.
Barely.
By 1 year.
Barely.
Yeah.
And this case is also known as the American Dyatlov Pass incident.
Ooh. 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 Okay. I'm like so excited.
You're into it, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's not as for me, it's not as creepy as the Dyatlov Pass because remember, we had some crazy speculations.
It was totally a government cover up. I think there were aliens or something and they stumbled across something they weren't supposed to see. And I think that they were hiding in their, you guys know what I was listening to. I think they were hiding in that little hidey hole and going back out to try to get supplies or check what's going on and document it, because they were writing, they were taking pictures. There was recordings of them like saying things, right? And then just with the weird radiation.
Yeah, radiation was a big part.
So I'm like,
but there's not as much craziness like that in this, but let's dive in.
Okay.
So we go back to February of 1978 to Yuba County, California, where 5 men became good friends while playing for a local basketball team for people with mental disabilities at the Yuba City Vocational Rehabilitation Center. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these 5 boys, which their parents called them, were Ted Weher, 32 years old, who had shown signs of autism, 30-year-old Jack Madruga, a slow learner, Bill Sterling, 29 years old, who was intellectually disabled, Jackie Hewitt, 24 years old, with unspecified physical and mental disabilities, and last, 25-year-old Gary Mathias, who had a history of being in and out of mental institutions since his stint with the Army. Apparently, he had been discharged and diagnosed with schizophrenia because he was caught in West Germany using drugs heavily. Okay. Now, in 1978, Gary Mathias, he was being treated with antipsychotics, but his doctors had noted he was doing a really good job with them and he was fine.
Okay.
He was probably the only one out of them that was like pretty good and up to par.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's a picture of them. I'm showing Angela.
Yeah. Hi, boys.
Yeah. That's Gary.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, all lived at home with their respective parents and families, and most were pretty independent, as a few even had their own jobs. The 5 of them were really invested in their basketball team, the Gateway Gators, and they had entered into a tournament where the winning team would receive a free week-long trip to Los Angeles, even though they're in California.
Right.
But it's still cool.
Yeah.
And this was all organized by the Special Olympics.
Oh, very cool.
Yes. No. Note real quick. You're going to have so much to talk about. I know you're going to bring up a lot.
Okay.
I'll try to give you a lot.
Right now, have you guys seen the movie? There's like a movie where it's a Special Olympic basketball team. They're called The Friends. And it's so wonderful and adorable and sweet. And like, I love this movie. And I can't think of who the lead is in it, but it's so good. I loved it.
If you think about it, come back.
I'm going to look it up right now. Okay.
I'll keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
So this really motivated this group of boys, and they had their big game, on February 25th, 1978. But on February 24th, the boys decided to take a 46-mile trip over to Chico, California, to watch UC Davis's basketball team play California State University, Chico. Okay, so they were really excited to just kind of get in the mood for basketball, watch these people play, so that maybe that could help them the next day. Okay. Jack Madruga, also an Army vet, had his driver's license and drove a 1969 turquoise and white Mercury Montego. Did you get a picture?
Yes, I know what the movie is.
Okay, what's the movie?
Sorry.
No, you're good. She's all ready to go.
I know. I looked it up. So it stars Woody Harrelson.
Oh my gosh.
And Caitlin Olsen.
Cool.
And it's called Champions.
Oh.
Champions.
When was it released?
2023.
Wow,
so it's very
so it's
recent.
recent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So It's so good. I watched it on Prime, so it's on Amazon Prime.
Nice.
Yes, and it's free on Prime, so you guys
Okay.
can watch it.
I'll
It's
have to
so
check it out.
cute. I love it.
I love it. Okay. I'll
Okay.
have to watch it.
Anyway, back to the story.
Back to the story. So again, Jack Madruga was the driver, and this is a similar car I'm showing Angela.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, it's a really cool car.
It is very cool.
Okay. So they made it to the game, and afterwards they decided to stop at Bears Market, a convenience store roughly 3 blocks away, to purchase snacks, Pepsis, and milk for the ride back. Surveillance video shows all 5 of them in the store, and even a witness caught sight of them driving off in the direction of Yuba City.
Okay.
When Ted Weher's, and I'm so sorry if I should have looked this up. It's Weiher or Weher. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but Weiher. Okay. So Ted Weher's mother, Imogene, woke up at 5 a.m. the next morning. She claimed she had an inexplicable feeling of anxiety and fear. Kind of like what you told me before.
Yeah.
Now, first thing she did was check on Ted in his room, but she found his bed empty. Imogene then phoned Bill Sterling's mother, Juanita, who was up since 2 a.m. and found Bill had not come home either.
Ooh.
They all found out none of the 5 boys made it home, and all except Gary Mathias had never stayed out all night, so this was definitely out of the ordinary.
Right, yeah.
By 8 p.m. that evening, they called the police. Their big game was that day. There's no way the boys would have missed it, so they knew something was terribly wrong.
Right, yeah.
Now, even Gary Mathias drove his mom crazy that week, telling her they had a big game. Don't let him oversleep.
Wow. Oh, goodness. I don't like this, Nicole.
I know. So the police came out and they took the same route the boys would have taken, a straight shot from Chico to Yuba City, but they didn't notice the brightly colored Montego anywhere. The police started to investigate a little more, but with no luck. Finally, Monday, February 27th, a U.S. Forest Service ranger reported a Mercury Montego in a snowbank on a mountain road in the Plumas National Forest, roughly 70 miles northeast from Yuba City.
What? What happened? That's what we don't know.
The ranger wasn't too concerned at first because the locals would park their cars on the sides of the roads for the entire day to do like a little cross-country skiing, and had actually seen it 2 days earlier. So he thought nothing of it.
Right.
But when police heard that type of car, they came out to investigate. When police arrived, they quickly established the car belonged to the 5 boys reported missing. As to why the car was in the completely opposite direction of their home left police baffled.
Yeah.
So this is the Plumas County area where it's forest and it's snowy at this time.
Yeah.
And so here's a map.
Wow. Yes. Wow. What? That's, oh my goodness. It's like, so it's a weird triangle.
Yes.
So it is a straight shot from their home to where they were supposed to go for the game. And then way to the northeast. Yeah. It makes no sense.
No sense. So they were able to search inside the car because it was unlocked. And they found empty drink cans and food wrappers, which helped police confirm they had been inside the car between the last sighting of them and when the vehicle was abandoned. They also found maps in the glove compartment and programs from the basketball game they had attended. And the way their car was positioned in the snowbank had the police deduce they were stuck in a snowdrift and that they tried to get the car free. But the police couldn't figure out why 5 healthy men were stuck because they should have been able to easily push the car out of the drift. The men had reached 4,400 feet in elevation on the road, where the snow line was at that time of the year, and just short of where the road was closed for the winter. They could not locate the keys, but when they hot-wired the car, it worked without a problem, and they noticed the Montego still had a quarter tank of gas. Oh, and the car was left unlocked, like I said, with one window open. More out of character things that Jack Madruga's parents mentioned after hearing about this. When police brought the Montego back to the station to have it examined even further, they noticed the undercarriage had absolutely no dents or scratches, even though the terrain up the hill and around it were really rough. So even the low-hanging muffler had nothing on it, even with an uneven mountainous roads with many ruts and potholes.
Right.
So this led police to believe whoever was driving the car either drove incredibly cautiously or knew the area quite well. But Jack Madruga, the driver, had never been to Plumas, and he was the only one that ever drove the car, and he would never let anyone else drive it. Note, when they left the previous Friday, they were only wearing light windbreakers. Even Ted Weher's grandmother commented before he left that he needed a coat, but Ted responded, "Oh, Grandma, I won't need a coat, not tonight." Police were trying to figure out why they had left the safety and warmth of their car when it was in working condition and venture out into the cold. Now, even Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga's fathers both confirmed that their sons hated the cold and disliked spending time in the outdoors, and so did the other parents. The remote forest surrounding the road had at least 10 inches of snow.
So, yeah, they were definitely carjacked. I mean, they were carjacked.
If they were carjacked, though, whoever did it drove meticulously. Because, again, there's no indications that they were like driving crazy or anything. It was like super slow and steady.
Yeah, but I still think they were carjacked.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know
have
where
a
it
lot
goes.
more.
I know.
Okay. I love that you do that. So that's good. Okay. Police then organized a search for the five, but that same day the car was investigated, a huge blizzard came rolling in. The next day, the blizzard dropped 9 more inches of snow, so they had to delay the search.
Right, yeah.
When they resumed, it was still a struggle in the dense forest. Even 2 search members that were on snowcats had to be rescued themselves.
Oh, wow.
Nearly losing themselves in the snowy forest. It was an on and off effort over the next 5 days. And while they did what they could in the Plumas National Forest, the search was abandoned. There were no traces of the men.
Well, no, because if a blizzard came in, I mean, it's going to cover any tracks that were made by them.
Exactly.
And yeah.
9 inches of snow is a lot.
That's a lot.
Now, as bizarre as this was, as even more unusual thing of events, a string of events occurred the same night the 5 were last seen. Police had notified the public of their disappearances, with many reports of seeing the 5 in California, like all over the state, and even all over the country. But California native Joseph Shones called the police. On February 24th, that same night that they drove out to the basketball game, 55-year-old Shones traveled to the Plumas National Forest in his Volkswagen Beetle on the same road as the 5 because he wanted to check the conditions before a planned family ski trip to a cabin he owned in the area. At 5:30 p.m., Shones immediately got stuck on the Oroville-Quincy Road, where he then suffered a mild heart attack.
Oh, my gosh.
Trying to free his Beetle off the snowbank.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, thankfully, it wasn't a life-threatening heart attack, but he had to spend the night in his car. He was super weak. He was in pain, like extreme pain.
Yeah.
Right? Now, he fell asleep, and when he was aroused awake to headlights directly behind him at roughly 11:30 p.m.
Okay.
Now, when he looked out, he saw a car parked behind his, surrounded by a group of 6 people, including what he thought was a woman holding a baby. Shones proceeded to call out for help, which caused the group to cease talking, and they turned off their headlights. Okay. No one responded. So when he then saw flashlights turned on outside the car, he again called for help. But then the flashlights were extinguished as soon as they heard the cry for help.
Okay.
At this point, Shones was delirious with pain, and he thought he saw a pickup truck parked behind him about 20 feet away, then drive off, but he wasn't 100% sure about this. When this information was relayed to the parents of the group, they all thought it was very out of character for them to ignore someone that was crying for help. Shones' car ran out of gas in the early morning hours, and finally, when his pain wasn't as terrible, he walked 8 miles down the road to a lodge, and the manager drove him back home. They passed the abandoned Montego. So it was that car. It was the Montego.
Right. Okay. So there was a woman that was.
He thinks there was a woman with a baby.
With a baby. Okay.
With this group of people that he didn't see clearly.
Okay.
And they were all like trying to be quiet about everything.
Trying to be quiet. And then another pickup came.
He thinks a pickup came. He doesn't know for sure.
And then there were no people.
And that was it.
Okay. All right. I'm like formulating my thoughts here.
Okay, another possible sighting was from a woman in Brownsville, which is 30 miles away from where the car was found. The woman claimed to see 4 of the men pull up to a store in a red pickup truck 2 days after their disappearance. She knew they weren't from the area because of their big eyes and facial expressions.
What?
Okay. 2 of the men stopped at a telephone booth outside, made a call, and then purchased food. The store manager was questioned and even confirmed the lady's account, and she thought 2 of the men she saw were Ted Weher and Jack Hewitt, who had bought the food and drinks from him. When this was conveyed to the families, Hewitt's brother stated Jack has an extreme aversion to using the telephone, so most likely it wasn't them.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they were in Brownsville and not the game they were so excited to play was still out of character for any of them.
Right.
Okay, so now months passed by without a solid clue, and the missing boys officially were known as the Yuba County Five. People were speculating like crazy on what exactly happened to them, from theories of carjacking, but left the car, to imprisonments by local hippies because the Manson family murders had recently happened. The boys' families offered rewards for any information about them, and some of the families even went to psychics for help. One told a family member that the boys had been kidnapped to Arizona and Nevada.
Okay.
Another psychic felt that the boys were murdered in Oroville in a 2-story red house, brick or stained wood, with a gravel driveway and the number 4723 or 4753. A good friend of Ted Weher drove down every street in Oroville for 2 days looking for the house that did not exist.
Yeah. Okay.
Then, on June 4th, 1978, a group of motorcyclists took a trip out to a Forest Service campsite in the Plumas National Forest, approximately 20 miles from where the Montego was discovered. At the campsite, they noticed a 60-foot trailer owned by the Forest Service with a busted window. Out of sheer curiosity, because of an awful stench, they decided to go inside the camper, and what they saw shocked them.
Oh, no.
Ted Weher's decaying body was stretched out on the bed, emaciated, and wrapped in 8 sheets that were pulled over his body and tucked around his head. Weher, at the time of his disappearance, was a tall, heavy-set fellow that weighed around 200 pounds. Poor Ted looked to have been only 100 pounds when they found him.
Oh, my goodness.
His shoes were removed, and his feet were frostbitten and gangrenous.
Yeah.
Cool, I said it right. When the coroner was looked over his lifeless body, they measured the length of his beard, and by that alone, they determined that Ted Weher had lived about 13 weeks after he last shaved.
Oh, wow. So
3
he
months.
was there for 3 months.
So this was the trailer they found.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Next to the bed was a table which had a ring that was engraved with Ted, a gold necklace, his wallet containing cash, a partially melted candle, and a gold watch. When the families were shown the items, no one could identify who the gold watch belonged to. Weher's cause of death was determined to be hypothermia and starvation. Investigators thought that Weher somehow walked or run or even somehow taken in the moonlight through 20 miles of 4 to 6 foot snow drifts to reach that locked trailer where he succumbed to starvation. But here is where it gets even more stranger.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
The trailer had matches lying around, but a fire was not built. There were even paperback novels and wood furniture that could have been used for the fire to keep warm. Even though there were 12 Army ration cans found empty on the floor, there was a shed right outside of the trailer that held enough dehydrated Mexican dinners, fruit cocktails, and other assorted meals to keep all 5 of the boys alive for a year.
Oh, wow.
So a whole shed of food.
Okay. And, okay. That was never opened? Oh.
Apparently, one of the cans of food was opened by an Army P-38 can opener, which Madruga and Matthias probably knew how to use since they served, but they weren't in the trailer. And there was a propane tank in another shed outside that could have been used to heat the trailer, along with, again, matches and books and furniture.
Right.
There was no indication that he even attempted to leave the trailer. The very next day, searchers discovered the bodies of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling about halfway between where the car was left and the trailer. Sadly, animals had gotten to their bodies. Madruga was partially eaten and dragged about 10 feet to a stream. Sterling was in a wooded area scattered over about 50 feet. Animals had eaten everything they could and nothing was left except bones. They couldn't determine whether these two had reached the trailer or not, but cause of death most likely hypothermia. Deputies believe that one of them was in the throes of the last stage of hypothermia, the need to sleep, and the other decided to stay with them and succumb to that last stage as well. 2 days later, off the same road, they found Madruga and Sterling, but closer to the trailer. Jackie Hewitt's father discovered his son's backbone under a manzanita bush. Friends and family tried to talk him out of the search for fear of this exact discovery, but he insisted on going.
Yeah, he needed closure.
Yes. They then noticed more bones around, as well as Jackie's Levi's and rip-soled Get Theirs shoes, which helped identify the remains of Jackie Hewitt's. That next day, an assistant sheriff was out searching the area when he came across a skull roughly 100 yards downhill from where they discovered the other bones. The family dentist identified the teeth belonging to Jackie Hewitt. Somehow, they were able to determine that Jackie's cause of death was also hypothermia.
Yeah. Oh, man.
In terms of locations of remains, Hewitt's, Sterling's, and Madruga's all lay northeast of the forest trailer. But about a quarter-mile northwest of the trailer, searchers found 3 wool Forest Service blankets and a 2-cell flashlight that were laying by the road. They noted that the flashlight was slightly rusted and was turned off, but they couldn't determine how long they had been lying there. So we've got some remains over here and some other paraphernalia over here.
Right. Okay.
As for Gary Mathias, when they searched the trailer, they did find his tennis shoes inside the trailer, and the speculation was that he took them off there in order to wear Weher's leather shoes. They were larger, and Mathias's feet could have been swollen from frostbite, so those shoes may have fit better, but again, this is not 100% clear. When they couldn't find Mathias's body, they sent his photo and description to all state mental institutions. When he left for the basketball game, he didn't have a wallet on him. He required medication to treat his schizophrenia, so if he was still alive, he could have lapsed into a disoriented psychosis. Mathias was never found in the area. Now, here are a few things they had to take into consideration, but still leaves more questions.
Okay.
February 23rd, police learned that a Forest Service snowcat headed from the road to the service trailer, which left a packed path in the snow. Did the boys follow that path up?
Okay.
Up in a town called Paradise, they sought out a water witcher who fixed his divining rod to pick up traces of human minerals. This led the search team to a deserted cabin close to their abandoned car. But the cabin was empty and no evidence that the boys had been in there. They then located a gray disposable cigarette lighter about 3/4 of a mile from the cabin, but the families of the boys said none of them carried lighters ever. So this might be just a whole thing, just to, couldn't have been them, but they found them. Then after talking with the family, they discovered Gary Mathias knew some people in Forbestown, a town in the middle of Yuba County and Chico. But after questioning them, they hadn't seen Gary in over a year.
Okay.
And then the gold watch that did not belong to any of the group, they assumed it belonged to a forest ranger who maybe just left it behind.
Yeah.
And back to the snowcat trailer. Even if Weher and any of the group did follow it along, why? Why leave the safety of their car and travel for almost 20 miles in the snow in the middle of the night? Jack Madruga's mother, Mabel, mentioned there was some force that made him go up there. They wouldn't have fled off in the wood like a bunch of quail. We know good and well that somebody made them do it. We can't visualize someone getting the upper hand on those 5 men, but we know it must have been. Then Ted Weher's sister-in-law was quoted stating, "They seen something at that game, at that parking lot. They might have seen it and didn't even realize they seen it." But with this speculation that someone may have chased them and that's why they drove up to the park, there's no indication Mathias was speeding again, and the car had no signs of problems. So there was no dents, nothing. very carefully driven. Now, everyone figured that because Ted Weher didn't have that much common sense, he didn't know what to make of the items in the trailer to keep him warm. But it was possible others had gone into the trailer and the Army vets would have known what to do. Is it possible they didn't want to touch anything of fear of desecrating private property? If so, then why only eat a certain amount of rations and not check any other sheds?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to decide if I want to interrupt you now and discuss some theories or just wait till you're done.
I got a few more.
Okay. We'll let you do your.
And then we can discuss.
Okay.
So, did Joseph Shones, the man with the heart attack, really see a woman and a child? If so, what happened to them? Did they really leave him alone when he cried for help, or was that even the boys? What happened to the car keys? They probably were on Matthias, but then where did he go?
Mm-hmm.
An investigative theory is that Matthias, possibly off his meds, had a violent outburst due to the paranoid schizophrenia he was diagnosed with and traveled in the opposite direction of home and abandoned the car. However, this is still hard to believe since he was regularly monitored and showed much improvement according to his doctor. But Ted Weher's brother didn't believe this theory that Matthias led the group up the mountain to die, and former Yuba County Sheriff Jack Beecham agreed. So whatever happened to these group of boys?
So I think when they were at the game, they ran into a woman in the parking lot with a baby and she needed help.
But they were at a convenience store.
She may have stayed in the car.
True.
Because there was no,
Yeah, she wasn't seen on the surveillance.
Yeah, on the surveillance. Yeah. She may have stayed in the car. And the boys probably got snacks because they were going to drive her to wherever she needed to go up in the woods. Okay?
Okay.
So that's why they were driving very carefully, because they had a woman with a baby in the car. And he was very meticulous about his car anyway.
Right.
So they get up into wherever she decided to leave them. Everyone gets out of the car. The guy with the heart attack saw them all get out of the car.
But why didn't they respond to him? If they're helping this woman with a baby,
they
respond to
she was probably controlling the whole situation and probably told them, no, that's a bad guy or something, just they were susceptible or, to whatever she needed.
Okay.
She was controlling the whole situation. So she probably was like, no, that's, whatever, to get them to not help the other man that was yelling. Okay. And then she convinces them to go into the woods to find something. And then at that point, whoever she was working with comes in the pickup truck and takes her with them. Maybe Matthias went with them because they never found him, right? I don't know. And then that would corroborate him being at the convenience store, right?
Well, no, they saw a bunch of people at the convenience. They thought it was
there was two men,
but they didn't think it was Gary.
Oh, they didn't. I forgot who they thought it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that ruins that theory. But I don't know what happened to Gary, but so I think that's why the guys got out of the car and they were told to go into the forest to do something. I don't know what the point of that woman leading them up there was,
because
they didn't take anything from the car.
He had his wallet too.
Yeah,
remember?
they didn't take any money or anything off the boys.
No.
So I don't know what the point of that was.
Why did they get out of the car? I mean, yeah, maybe she did get picked up and maybe something happened and Gary did come. But again, why would they abandon the safety of their car? And she wasn't there. So it's like.
Yeah. And she got picked up I think she got picked up by the other truck that came by.
Yeah.
But I don't know why.
There's no cell phones at this point. So how did they know where they were?
I think it was prearranged. Obviously she got something from these people. I don't know. But that's the only theory that I can come up with as to why they would go that far out of their way.
Right.
Because it seems like they would be very responsible about, and I don't know why they didn't leave, because they had the keys and they could have left.
They could have left back. Yeah,
So
and
I don't
they're
know.
grown men. They could have pushed their car off. They could have driven back. Why abandon their car?
And we don't know. I mean, did the two that they found desecrated by animals, or I guess three, because they found
other one.
the other one. So did they die first and then the animals got to them?
Yeah,
I think
probably.
so.
That would make more sense.
Whew.
But again, there was this whole shed of food.
And they were living there for like
This guy was
like
there for 3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
He could have eaten something. He could have started a fire. He could have done anything. And I think even with no common sense, I think survival skills would have kicked in. I mean, he found blankets. Like,
yeah.
It didn't make any sense.
And then here's my other question. The rangers know about these cabins, so why didn't anybody check the cabins?
They were abandoned for a few months because it was so blizzardy. Probably they didn't even need to.
But I feel like if they're missing people,
right? But they couldn't even get there. Remember, it took a while.
They couldn't
And it was
even
20
get up
miles
into
away.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they wouldn't even think to probably go there because it was so far away out of their area.
Yeah.
20 miles. I mean, imagine that. Walking in the snow for
20 miles. No, thank you.
Like, why? Wouldn't you just turn back around and get in your car?
I would. Yeah.
So that's what's the mystery. It's like, why did they even get out? Why did they go towards that way? Why didn't they just stay in the car? Why? Why is this? It's so scary to think.
It is. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is the pregnant woman or the woman with the baby, like convince them to do this and to do something. And I don't know what it could have been.
Right? Because again, they didn't steal anything. Doesn't look like there's a struggle. No one was missing anything.
Yeah.
Like,
so here's
and
a
Gary
weird...
Matthias didn't even have his wallet. Remember, he was the one that's missing. Didn't have a wallet.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe Gary Matthias knocked up this lady and then, hey, this is your baby. And now we have to like, like go somewhere. I don't know.
So random.
I don't know.
I feel like he would have said something. And then he had to take his meds. So I'm sure that at some point he would have had to contact a doctor or something if he was still alive, unless he had a violent outburst and just, I don't know.
Maybe he wanted to go disappear and live with this woman that he has a baby with. So that's my wild theory. Let's throw it out there because, you know, he's...
So you think he called her ahead of time to go to this basketball game, even though they all wanted to go play this basketball game tournament on that 25th?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's so out of character.
I don't know.
Isn't that weird?
I don't know. But like he was the one, because like his mental facilities were...
He was fine.
They were being managed. So he was the one that was quote unquote most in his right mind.
Exactly.
And high functioning.
Right.
So, you know, I don't know why he would come up with this plan and then abandon like his team in the forest like that. That makes no sense.
No.
And I don't know why his team wouldn't have just gone back to the car anytime.
The crazy part about all this. The car was fine.
Anytime. Because it takes a long time to die of hypothermia, I think. I mean, it wouldn't have been...
They weren't wearing anything.
They only had light jackets on.
Anything.
Yeah.
So again, why go out into the snow that far away when they know they can't survive? Like,
yeah, I don't know why they left the car.
No. What happened? So again, Yuba County 5. This is the still most mysterious missing case in California.
Yeah, that is a crazy one. I don't think it's aliens.
No, probably not. Yeah. But again, the fact that there was food, the fact that they had the chance to survive if they walked all the way out there, still baffles me.
Yeah, I mean, they made it to, or at least one of them.
One did, but I mean, again, there was if this guy Ted Weher could use a can opener that is specifically made for Army people, if he was the one that did it and not the other two, then he would have had some knowledge to go into a shed and find other things to keep himself like warm.
Yeah, he would have like explored, like what else is in the sheds? What else can I use here?
He would have lived, but so confusing.
Yeah. That's so weird. I wonder what led them to do that.
We'll never
know. We will never know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yuba County 5, everybody.
Dude, this is a crazy one. I'm going to be thinking about this one for a long time.
Right?
If you guys have any information about this or have any questions, you can email us at theominousstitch@gmail.com. You can also read the show notes for this episode or any previous episode if you jump over to podbean.com. That's where we host our little show here for you guys, our little podcast. And get any show notes from this episode, any previous episodes. There's also a little button you can click that says become a patron today. We love our patrons. You guys do make this possible for us to continue doing this for you. So please think about becoming a patron today. It'd be a wonderful holiday present for us. We'd love it.
Yay, I love that.
And you guys get stuff too. We send our patrons stuff. We give you shout outs. We love to connect with you guys. And so that's just another way to connect. And we appreciate you guys very much. You can also visit any of our social medias. We are on all the things. See anything that we're working on or anything that's going on. And I don't know, if you just want to say hi to us, we want to say hi to you. So
yeah,
visit us today.
Say hi. Just drop a line. Tell us one of your spooky stories you have.
Yes, we want to hear from you. So drop us a line today. All right. So we have one more thing to do in this episode.
Whoop, whoop.
It is movie time.
Movie time. This week's movie review is The Lovely Bones. Released in 2009, IMDb rating of 6.6 stars. Synopsis. Centers on a young girl who has been murdered and watches over her family and her killer from purgatory. She must weigh her desire for vengeance against her desire for her family to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Jackson, director.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie.
So yes, this is based off of a book.
Yeah, I've never read the book,
I wish
but I've seen the book, and I know it was like a bestseller,
It was
and
really
I
good.
heard about it, and I was like, oh, I should read it. I think it was maybe in Oprah's book list book too.
Probably.
It makes sense.
Probably. Yeah, the actors are huge. Saoirse Ronan is the main character. We've got the parents as Rachel Weisz and Mark Wahlberg, and Stanley Tucci is the bad guy.
Yeah,
and he does a good job of it. Like, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this movie, but if you haven't seen it,
please see it. I highly recommend it.
The book, what I read a little bit more about is when I was kind of doing more research. So, yeah, so she's killed, and he has this drive to murder girls and women.
Yeah.
In the book,
I'm sure it's more graphic than the movie.
So listener discretion if this triggers you, but yes, he rapes and murders. And the movie, I appreciate he does not show that.
They don't show that. They don't really show the murders either.
No, thankfully.
Yeah. So that's what made me like it.
It's more tolerable that way.
Yes, because anything having to do with
young,
I can't. Yeah. I can't.
No, it's very hard.
It's made me. We've watched other movies that I've been like, Nicole, I can't review this movie.
Yeah,
because of situations like that.
It's really hard to stomach. But yeah, so Peter Jackson, I think it was beautiful. He weaves this movie based off of the story so well. Her purgatory
it's incredible,
beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's so heart-wrenching. I told Angela I cried like maybe 3 times, and I've seen this before.
Yeah. We were also watching it when a lot of things were going on.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful movie, and beautiful in a way that you're watching a murderer. Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, if you've never seen it, it just like gets you because you're like, you start yelling. I feel like I started yelling at the movie. Like sometimes like, there's some pretty like hairy situations where you're like, I was yelling at her sister, like,
get out of there, get out, yeah, get up, run.
Yes,
yeah.
So, but yeah, 1970 setting. So there's a lot of things that they did great with that time period. And
what I appreciate about it is that it doesn't wrap anything up in a pretty little bow.
Okay,
it really shows. You hated that. I think it made it more accessible for people because like there's when you're dealing with a situation where you have a murderer and you can't
You have
figure out
somebody
who
ripped
it
away
is,
from your
and
family, though.
somebody's ripped away like that, and just there's no easy way to get over anything
No.
or to deal with it. And
Ever.
it just shows how different perspectives, even the person that was murdered, how she has to get over it and deal with it.
Right.
And sometimes there isn't closure.
No.
Sometimes there isn't
And I
closure.
hate that. That's
Yes,
so annoying.
I hate that. And I usually hate that about movies, but this, I appreciated it because it really showed how people dealt with their grief and their experience of loss and not having answers. And how are they supposed to move on and move forward from that? And for the dad, he got very obsessive and was like, I can't let this go.
Right.
And the mom was like,
No.
you're not here for me. Nobody's here for me. I have to leave.
And they've got 2 other kids. And that was really difficult. Well, there's that little paranormal aspect of it, which I appreciated too, where she's trying to reach out to her father. There's that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. She finds a way to be connected to her father. And then there's another girl in town that she touched. And so she was able to stay connected to her.
Right.
And so does maintaining that connection with the other side keep you stuck and not allow you to move forward with your life while you're here?
Right.
And how do you deal with that? Because I think that was the same thing for Sarah Winchester.
Yes.
You know, she stayed stuck in that paranormal.
She couldn't let go. Yeah.
And a lot of people do. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with needing to talk to the other side and needing some kind of closure or whatever.
Right.
I love mediums. I love, the idea of being able to speak with people on the other side. I've had instances where I've been able to do that and deliver messages for people. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And it's definitely a reminder that spirit continues on.
Yes.
And, you can still feel connected with people that have passed on.
Right.
But to what it can keep you trapped, and to what extent do you stay in the past and not allow yourself to move forward? And so that's what I appreciate about this, is that it there wasn't closure. I mean, they did give the audience closure, but for the family, there was no closure.
Yeah, no, exactly. They gave us kind of what we wanted, but at the same time, no, because nobody knew what happened.
I mean, the sister
finds out.
Sister finds out.
But then
the family finds out, but they don't get to get the guy in the end.
Exactly.
Yeah, he disappears. So
spoiler alert, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But again, we know what happens, but they don't. Nobody else
don't know.
does.
Yeah.
Nobody else has that closure for their families of all the victims that he took.
Yeah.
And that's so sad. And that makes me so angry, but it happens in real life. So that's the scary part. Again, real life is scary. Remember? Real
life is scary. That's why we dive into these.
Yeah.
I mean, these are realities for people,
right.
but they help us escape from our own. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, how many stitches would you give this?
It was beautiful. I loved it. It dealt with subject matter that I hate, and I was still able to
watch it. She's such a great actress.
Yeah.
She made me cry because she just did such a wonderful job.
Her face is so honest,
yes,
and she's
pure.
so pure and just appealing. And I usually love Stanley Tucci, and I hate him so much in this movie.
But that's what I love about him too. It's a love-hate relationship because he did such a good job with this character. And in other characters, he's awesome too. But just portraying this really gut-wrenching neighbor who is a serial killer, but he did a wonderful job.
And I love the way that the story was told and the way that the subject matter was dealt with. And so I would give it's a high stitch count from me. I would say it's probably an 8.
Okay. Yeah. 8.5 for me.
Yeah, 8.5. Woo, you're higher than me.
I really love this movie. But again, just that one gripe of, I wish there was something at the end after she, the sister figures everything out.
You wanted some vengeance and some satisfaction for the family.
Yeah. But
the
they move
satisfaction for the families, they were able to come back
True.
together and move on.
The mother came
And
back. Yes.
Yeah, the mom came back. The family came back.
Right.
Everybody came back together.
Yeah.
They found each other again,
True.
and they were able to move forward.
That's right.
That's all the closure they needed.
True for them.
For them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You needed closure.
I
with
needed
Stanley
it.
Tucci needed to,
Yes.
to go to jail.
Yes, he needed to be. Well, at least
They
people
needed to
knew,
get. They
like,
needed
it
to get
was
him.
You know.
Mhm.
The other thing I did appreciate though was Susan Sarandon's comic relief.
Oh yeah, she was so good.
She was really good in it, and it just made you laugh a little bit about her.
Yeah,
character.
who doesn't have a person like that? Everybody needs a person like that in their
Right?
life. That's just going to be like,
You just roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And she's hilarious.
oh, she's so good.
I love that
Yeah.
about her. Did you stitch to this movie?
I probably did. Just because I was working on my blanket, but
Right.
I probably did, but I probably wasn't stitching too much because it was very
So much to it,
beautiful,
yeah.
and it was like you wanted to watch it.
Right?
Yeah.
I was trying to, and I couldn't do it most
Yeah.
of the time. Such a nice movie.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad we reviewed it. This is, again, a little different than our other ones, but
Yeah.
I thought this kind of fit our theme a little better,
Yeah,
and I love that. So
yeah,
good
yeah,
movie.
yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for picking it. It's
Yay!
beautiful.
It's not going to be that way anymore.
I
Sorry.
know. Yeah, I know what the next movie is, and I have thoughts about that one. So, all right. Well, this is another amazing episode. I'm so glad that we're
Yay!
back.
Me too.
And until next time, we'll see you, Stitchers.
See you, Stitchers.